All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another exciting webinar brought to you by Life Design Analysis. As usual, I am your host, Charlie Conron, and this month's webinar is really focused around working smarter, not harder. Smarter, not harder was one of my stepfather's sayings that he always wanted to create efficiencies within his practice, and that's what we really strive to help you with at Life Design Analysis. One of the key value points we keep bringing up is that we like to think we save you time. We want to make you more money, obviously, by making a more compelling presentation. And, of course, we want to help you automate compliance. But this month, because so many of us are on vacation and again, want to enjoy the summer, the great weather, be out and about, for myself, it's playing golf, but it could be fishing or boating or maybe spending time at the cottage, even vacation. We want to be able to do that, but at the same time, we're all in such a connected world. It's hard to leave the office, and it's hard to turn down opportunity as well. So when opportunity strikes, we want to be able to service it from anywhere. So we're going to focus on a couple topics this month, but the general theme is going to be working smarter, not harder. Sometimes that means working remotely. Sometimes it means working faster. We're going to start off. I'm going to show you some of the recipe automation inside Life Design Analysis. So if you haven't seen this before, putting together presentations can be a snap, and they can happen in a matter of literally seconds, depending on the type of recipe you're using. But if you have a prospect all of a sudden come up and, even maybe you're on the golf course or something like that on your smartphone, I'm going to show you recipe automation that you can use that can put together presentations and even start the conversation giving an idea around pricing, which of course, is one of the first things we're really going to want to qualify our prospect with. What kind of premium would scare them or would make them say, whoa, that's too much. Because a lot of times, while there may be a more suitable product for them, such as longer term length, which we always talk about selling over time, they may simply not have the cash flow for it. And, by using a recipe that exposes them to a couple different kinds of products right off the get-go, we can sort of get an idea of their sort of price sensitivity. We'll sort of transition into using recipes, and I'll show a couple different ones there, into how those recipes work with Inforce Recipe Automation. So inside of Life Design Analysis, a lot of time we talk about importing your block of business or bringing in your clients. We'll show you what that looks like when you do that, but we'll also show you how we use things like the issue date and the product type to suggest that certain opportunities get certain presentations. So I'll show you how you can use those exact same recipes, but basically have them triggered on certain policy types, and how that can automate a lot of your workflow. So things like reviewing policies and making sure that when a Term 10 policyholder hits its 7th year or 8th year, that you have a presentation or some options to show them, because there's nothing worse than the dreaded letter that clients get 30, or usually it's about 90 days or 3 months to their term policy going to jump from $100 to $900. So we try and reach them early. We try and trigger you with some, key opportunities, and we use those recipes that I'm going to show you in the first step, where you can basically set up what that automation looks like. Next, we're going to focus on LDA on the go. So we know advisors are always on the go. We know summertime is a busy month and we want to get away. I mentioned going to the cottage, perhaps being out on the golf course, things like that. I'm going to show you how you can make LDA an app. I'm going to use an iPhone, but I'm going to also bring a blog in that we have that'll show you a couple different ways. So if you're on an Android, or perhaps even you're used to a traditional desktop icon, and maybe that's how you're used to launching these programs. And sometimes it's hard to think about Life Design Analysis because it's on the big giant World Wide Web, and there's all these other different websites and things like that. So I'll show you how you could make it a shortcut really on any different device. And I'm going to show you a blog post if you need to reference it with a step-by-step. And then last but not least, we're going to focus on shared cases. Now, this is one of our hallmarks of Life Design Analysis. We get so much positive feedback on shared cases from clients. We're going to show you how you can share cases and use our kind of Buy It Now button to get buying indicators from your client. I'll show you how you can turn those on or off. But we've seen really positive results from advisors who are using shared cases to work remotely. And I've also got another blog blog post on the working remotely, because shared cases can be used in a number of different ways, and even some advisors I know might load up their LDA report and do a screen share. So very much like we're doing today, where I'm sharing my screen and sort of broadcasting and talking out. You could easily set up a screen share with your client and go through an LDA report, and I find that's a great way to present when you are remote, perhaps at the cottage or on vacation, but the opportunity comes up and you want to, you have one meeting. And then last, we'll do some housekeeping and updates. If you've been on the system using it, you've probably seen a number of updates, things like mass actions in the system. I'll show you a little bit of what you can expect on what's new and what we're working towards. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm just going to pop kind of to the main screen here, and also worth noting, if you're watching this for the first time and see a concept that you do like within the within the webinar that we're doing today, remember, we do have a 30-day free trial, so you can try this out on your own. It's a no-risk trial. We don't charge up front. We let you have the full 30 days of our Premier package, which is what I'm going to be showing today. And then you do have options after that. Always mention it in every webinar. For Life Guide subscribers, if you are watching, you receive an exclusive discount. We're going to take half of your price away. And you just basically enter your serial number as your discount code to do that. Now, as I mentioned before, Life Design Analysis is a web-based program, so to find us, go to whatever web browser you're comfortable with, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and just go to lifedesignanalysis.com. You can see information about our platform. Sign up if you haven't created an account before, and those of us who are already existing subscribers or trying on the platform on the 30-day trial, you can go and log in and access your account from the top right there where it says log in. Again, it's going to ask for your email and password, and click sign in. Now, also keep in mind throughout this webinar, if you have a concept that you're looking for help, or if you're one of our subscribers and need assistance with a case or want any sort of support, or even if you're on that 30-day free trial and want support, there is live chat. So if you notice over to the right here where there's this ask us a question button, you can always pop that out, type your message in. We generally try and get back to you as quick as possible, shoot you a video if we can, and of course, if you have any feedback, you can also send it through there. But our live chat is very popular for getting answers in a pinch. We're going to get started on our first case, which is all around recipe automation. So I'm going to start off and of course add a new case, and this is where you're going to start off for all of your cases that you're going to create, and any sort of insurance proposal, we want you to go right here. Now I'm going to go with an existing client in this case. I'm going to pick Phil Mickelson. Happens to be a 40-year-old male in my case. I've been using this as sort of my demo client recently. But remember, any sort of new opportunity, if you haven't imported your clients or worked with the client before, just simply hit new client there. Fill in kind of the tombstone information, date of birth, name, that sort of thing. And again, that client is saved in the system. We're going to tie every case that you do for that client so you have a record of it. We're also going to keep things like a modification history for you, so you know when you created the date, when you modified it, when you shared it, that sort of thing. Our first kind of example was recipe automation. So for Phil, we're going to start off, and this might be a great starting point if you have kind of a brand new prospect and want to educate them on the different types of insurance. We talked a little bit about it before on that selling over time concept, where we want clients to consider products that fit their time needs. So again, if they need insurance till they're 65 and they're only 30, a term 10 would be great, but we may want to show them something like a term to 65 so that they know that product is out there. Whether we think they can afford it or not, we might get to that, but we should expose them to different products and show them how they play out over time, and let our clients have options. And that's really what people really like. They want to be informed on the products that they purchase today. They want to be educated. So they like seeing some options. At the same time, we don't want to overwhelm them with all of the options on the market. We want to pick specific options we think are suitable for them, because otherwise, if we give them too many options, they'll have sort of the opportunity cost of picking the wrong one. So I find a great way to start off is, I would always recommend a needs analysis, and we covered that in a previous webinar, so go do check it out on YouTube. But you can establish the insurance benefit that way. I'm going to pick something like $1 million benefit here, something simple. and throw it in as my insurance benefit. And I'm going to get started with Recipes. So you've probably seen me on different webinars, search through the different term products, universal life, whole life. All that functionality, as I mentioned, is provided to us from Life Guide, and we have a great partnership in place there that allows us to discount their subscribers and for them to provide those rates inside the system, making this sort of speed possible. And now, when you do the term query, it brings up all of the results, but a lot of the time we just, we want the top results, or we go with something out of our preferred carriers from the top result, and we just want something really quickly that is a multiple product. So again, we could go through and search term, add our particular company ABC, go through universal life, pick company ABC, repeat the process. If you'd like to save yourself some time, we also have this recipe automation. So you can see these are sort of combinations of products. So for example, I can do, we'll start off very simple. We'll just say a T10 versus T20, and you see where it says in brackets best rate. So if I do a T10 versus T20 out of my preferred companies, it's going to pick the top ranking based on price for T10, then T20, and select those to the case. You can also do, of course, all companies, which would survey out everything, pick the absolute lowest price company A for T10, and company A for T20, that sort of thing. If you know you're working with a particular company, you can also use a recipe inside of one company or another. So if I knew I was going to do like a Sun Life or a Canada Life or Equitable, that sort of thing, I could simply pick the specific carrier and run a recipe within just their product set. And that way I'm not necessarily getting the best price on the market, but I am keeping it consistent in terms of what product is going to be selected. Now, I'm going to leave mine at my preferred companies. That preferred companies, again, just for those of you who are not aware, is actually just set up here in the account settings. So if you come up here, just remember you can customize your account settings to what your preferred companies are for these sort of automations. Now, generally we find it's great to survey the whole market, but in some automations, it might be a product that, like a London Life product or something like that, that you may not have the ability to sell. And the reverse may be true as well. You may be with London Life and say, that's my preferred company, so I want to use it in that recipe. So again, remember you have control over what companies are involved in these, but essentially pick your product combo. So T10 versus 20, and you can add a recipe there. Now this is a really quick way to kind of spin up a couple different options for clients and have a presentation, as I say, ready in seconds here. And you can see what it's done is it's picked out a T10 from RBC and a T20 from Vitality. And if you just want to, I'll just show you just kind of why it got to these two different products. So if I do a term search here, just as an example here, and just do my term 10 out of my preferred companies, you're going to see that when it surveys here, RBC was the top result, and that's why it selected this product here. Similarly, if we refine our results and just say, T20 here, and search, we're going to see that the Manulife product actually comes to the top here. You can see it's about 4.47% better in terms of premium, and that's why it's added to the case. Now, if you wanted to swap one out and, again, you wanted to go down the survey, you could, of course, select a different product, but this just helps us get to a particular plan that much faster. So you can see it's added both products, relatively short amount of time, right? We're talking seconds to add these two products, and then I just hit generate report. And of course, this is going to generate it with all of the pages that are sort of my default report, but again, really quickly, I have a case for Phil Mickelson here, presented by myself, branded with my logo. It looks like I spent hours on this, but really done in a matter of seconds. And if you think about, again, presenting T10 to T20 on every single case, a great way to show clients how products operate over time and why they may want to consider long-term products. If we go through sort of the comparison here, again, we get the premium schedule for both products. Again, we get the visual representation. And what I always really liked as a consumer myself was, really just seeing how small the gap price relative to that renewal was. So again, relatively small increase short term, saving a huge increase later. And again, in this case, not taking the risk of being healthy or what kind of pricing we're going to get at year 50 there. Again, showing sort of the long-term value of these products as well, seeing those savings of a T20 over time is certainly compelling from the customer standpoint, especially when you see the accumulated difference. Remember, if you want to illustrate this as a rewrite, you can as well, but this is a great way to kind of introduce your client to some different options. seconds. Now again, we have lots of different recipes, so I'll just show you, this case I went through relatively slowly, actually, showing all the different details. I might want to give Phil a couple options. So I'm just going to go back, I'm going to create and repeat those same steps. I'm going to add another case here for Phil. I'll do the same $1 million. And this time for my recipe selection, I'm going to pick something maybe a little more well-rounded. So I'm going to pick something like a T20 versus a T65 versus a min-funded UL. So maybe something a little more long-term versus something for retirement versus something permanent. Just to, again, show those options. This might be another another sort of case we would put in front of Phil. And just by having the options, again, we may not present all of them, but at least by creating them, depending on how our conversation with Phil goes, we might be able to bring these out. So again, don't feel you just have to make just the one case that you're going to show. You might have multiple different scenarios, and then if the conversation leads towards, well, when do you want your insurance to end? Retirement. I might pull out this presentation that I've done. So again, I could give this maybe a case title of long term, and that would tag it as long term. And again, let's just generate this report and see what, again, we've created in a matter of seconds here. So again, don't hesitate with these recipes to maybe make a couple different options. This is a great way to expose people to maybe different pricing. Here's some cheap term. If we're focused on retirement, this T65 is actually a pretty good deal. You can see we get 5 extra years, a little higher premium. So again, it might be might be an option, might rule itself out there. And we've got some universal life here. Again, we see the substantial premium increase there. These T65s, I always find they compare very well for someone looking at retirement. They're not renewable, so it's definitely for someone who is taking the risk of applying again, I suppose, for a new product at 65. You're pretty much self-insuring at that point. But there are people who do go that route, and again, overall the cost benefits can be compelling to a T20, where again, applying at 60 may not be, yes, there's going to be savings to that point. They may choose to lapse the insurance there. It doesn't cover the need of T65. So again, we're going to see a pretty compelling comparison on that T65. But again, not being renewable is something that is going to be a factor there. Again, seeing that premium summary, really compelling to that T65 taken out to age 65, really what it's designed for, versus the other options. Though of course, some of those long-term options can be there as well. So. Go back to the case. So again, another long-term scenario. But let's try again. We might make Phil. We might say we want to talk about life, but if he brings up maybe living benefits, let's create another case here. And as you can see, these are very quick to put together. So I'm going to say $50,000 insurance benefit this time, and I'm going to use my CI recipe. So I'm going to say CI T10 versus level to 75, which is again very much like our term to UL sort of comparison. I'll use a $50,000 insurance benefit. I can create the recipe. Add it very quickly, again working with either my preferred companies, which is going to leverage the top result from my companies that I've selected as ones I'm doing business with, or again, if you have a lot of people with CI especially, I find will have a specific company that they like the underwriting or they like the definitions with, and feel free to use that company filter there to specify an individual company. Again, we might want to give this one a title of CI options. Just so we know it's kind of tagging it, and then again I can generate the report here. But really quickly, I'm able to spin up cases. Some people even change those report titles, so it could be company A, company B, but it just gives some pricing options. And just again, the benefit is showing the clients the pattern of how these products work over time. We use visuals to really emphasize what happens to these premiums. And again, thinking about CI, how I always kind of mention on these webinars how difficult it can be to underwrite in those later years. Really just showing a compelling reason why you might go long term here and have CI for those critical years when you're probably more likely to use it, at least as the statistics would say. But again, 3 really great presentations that might be used in sort of that fact finding. We might want to create them, have them up our sleeve, see where the conversation goes, and then be able to leverage them, that sort of thing. I'm going to go back to the case, and I just want to show you here, if I go and pop to the client file here for Phil Mickelson, you can see all of those cases that we created here were all stored and documented. So you can see, case 1, 2, 3, different product sets, but we were able to spin them up very, very quickly, and very polished reports. So again, we look very professional with our clients. We've leveraged that time savings, and we can really do this from anywhere. So later on, when I show you how to make an app, I'll try and go back and make a recipe and show you how you could do that from your smartphone. Okay, so we know recipes make case creation extremely quick and almost automated once we sort of set our parameters. One of the other things in the account settings that I want to point out is, when you set your preferred companies, that's fantastic. But if you look in the System tab here, you can see that there are certain case opportunities. And these come out of your Inforce block of business when you do import it. And you can see, there's a Term 10 conversion recipe, an exchange recipe, and a Term 20 conversion recipe as well. And basically what these are designed to do is the Term 10 conversion recipe is designed to look for Term 10 policies. We look for them in their 7th to 10th year before that renewal premium hits. We think this is a good time to go back to the client, engage them, and start working on the process of the sale. Anything from year 7 to year 10, of course, your age is going to be a big factor in when the earlier you convert that, or in some cases may replace it if a full conversion is not possible. But the earlier we service this policy, the greater the savings are going to be for our clients. So we sort of look at it at that sort of time frame. Term exchange, we look after the 2nd year, so we don't want clawback of premium or anything like that, but we want to reach them before the 5th year. For term exchange recipes on Term 10 products. And Term 20, we wait till about the 15th year, anything from years 15 all the way to 20 for a Term 20 conversion. And the reason is, if we've sold our clients a Term 20 policy, usually we find it's around year 13, 14 that they would actually experience those savings. So at that point, it's been worthwhile, but converting it early, maybe they should have just gotten a Term 10 or something like that. So different ways to do it, and I'll show you when I bring up the block of business that you can also filter and kind of create your own filters, but these are sort of the what we call triggers around case opportunities. So what happens is when you import your block of business, when it recognizes a term conversion recipe or term conversion opportunity, it's going to trigger that recipe, and as we showed, it has the T10 20 whole life best rate, but you can see you can sort of specify the recipe. So if one term comes up, you're more the type to just replace term and you sort of sell more term market, maybe in the family market or something like that. You could set a new T10 versus T20 versus T30 to go as your recipe. I do a sort of another T10, so a product they're familiar with, a bit of an upsell over time to show them longer term product and the value, but how it still has a renewal and perhaps a whole life option that they may want to consider. And of course, these recipes are great starting points. Some of them you'll want to illustrate that conversion. So like any good recipe out there as well, it is a good starting point. You can always start with a recipe and add your own products to that case after. But again, this is where you'll set those recipes that happen on those specific triggers. And I'll kind of give an example here. So I'll go into my notifications here. And you can see on my notifications, I've got different opportunities. So you can see this one happens to be a Term 20 conversion opportunity. And you can see because it had all of the client information, it's actually created a case for this. So it's recognized that this Term 20 policy here has its renewal in 2024. So it was issued in 2004. We think this is a service opportunity. We want to get to this client and show the new options. So we've run that Term 20 recipe. And in our case, you can see, I'll just jump to the case here. I'll go View Case. I can see here that it's run my Term 20 conversion, which is basically I want a permanent product versus a brand new T20. Now you can see if you wanted to bring in their existing Inforce policy that triggered this opportunity, you could as well. And I'll just show, when we go into Earl's account here, this was a Manu T20 for $200,000. So you can see it's automated a new Term 20 and picked the benefit at $200,000, but it was hit on that exact trigger date. So again, 2004, on the 18th of June, the issue date rolls around. we look at those and we say we run, sort of that recipe automation off of that. So as you import your block of business and bring in those policies, we can look at things like the type of policy that it is, the issue date, and again, notify you of those opportunities, but also run an example case. And if we just go into this case to see this automation in fashion, again, you can see we do put a little disclaimer that we automatically generate this case based on current client and policy assumptions. So just make sure that things like if this is a non-smoker, Earl is still a non-smoker, because we're going to go off basically the client file where again, we have certain information. Earl is a 45-year-old male. This is his date of birth, non-smoker, that sort of thing. So just, that's sort of how it works. Now, on the quick question of how do I import my clients? Well, if you are looking to import your clients and bring them into that manage clients area, importing is very easy. Really, we just ask that you request your clients. We've made kind of a template for you to use. You put in your advisor code. So if you want, let's say, your Canada Life clients, you would say request clients. Throw in your advisor code. A lot of times you can save them in your account as well. Check the little box saying you give us permission to send to Canada Life on your behalf. We copy you in on the email, and we want them to send you the block of business back, but we do provide service to import it for you. We can take any sort of spreadsheet, whether it's from your CRM that you're using, whether it's from an insurance carrier. Generally, those have the best data points, but really any sort of file where you're looking to bring in clients, if you can bring it into a spreadsheet, we can bring it in to Life Design Analysis through our custom import. And we do this as a service as well. So, if you're not data oriented or you don't like working with client files and things like that, again, we can assist in the process. We do it as a service for our premier subscribed users. When you do the import, again, that's going to populate the manage clients. And as I mentioned before, you can create your own filters in here too. So things like that term 20 conversion as an example. I can click the button term 20 conversion. I can see all of my term 20 options that fall within what we think are the most pressing opportunities in terms of an issue date, and I can work through those as well. But let's say you said, well, I want to work on term 10 policies that aren't quite that old. So instead of 2004, maybe I look a little, maybe I look in 2007, and I kind of adjust that date range that I want to look towards. So maybe I want to focus on maybe some of the ones that are a little earlier to make that conversion a lower premium. So you can do things like set different triggers and different issue dates that you want to work with. So it doesn't just have to be those ones that come through the notification, though we find those are quite helpful to alert us to the opportunity, and then we can go in and build a specific case for them. So just to quickly recap on that process, 1, we're going to import our clients. That's going to populate the manage clients area. 2, we're going to have in our account settings our system tab set to have certain recipes that run when opportunities come up. And you can see the third thing is, case opportunity policy status. Most of the time the policy status from the carriers comes in as unknown, and we will run them on unknown. If for some reason you're marking them as Inforce commission paid, or if you've done maybe a sync from VertGate or something like that, where the policy status is included, just check off, the ones that you want. Sometimes, you'll have, you'll still want to keep things like lapsed policy clients in your system. So again, client may cancel a policy. Doesn't mean we necessarily delete that client, but we may want to just kind of change them as lapsed, and that way we, if we don't have this check off, we're not going to run those recipes on lapsed products in that policy status. And I'll just, maybe worthwhile quickly showing, if I come back to my case here and just go to my last one here. Phil, for example, if this policy, for whatever reason, or that we're running the automation off, if for whatever reason something changes, you can see I mark mine as Inforce commission paid when they're sold. But let's just say for some reason Phil cancels his term 30 on me here. I can just go into the edit, and again, I can change the policy status to lapsed. And that will stop that automation from running on that policy. But otherwise, it's going to say, based on the type of product it is and the issue date, what sort of recipes we should run. And I'll just cancel that. I'll keep Phil with his term 30 there. Okay, so let's move on to the next aspect that can help you be more efficient in your practice and potentially service clients when you'd normally be tied up. Maybe you're waiting in the car between appointments. Maybe you're at Tim Hortons waiting for a client and an opportunity comes up. Maybe you generate a lot of leads online, but as a result, you're out there selling and you still have these serviced leads coming through. Perhaps it's an admin person who works with this. Let's show you how to make LDA as an app so that you can work from anywhere with our service. Now, for this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch over to my cell phone to start, and we're going to show you how to make it an app on an iPhone, and then we're going to work into other ways to do that. Now, I'll just show you, I mentioned I was going to bring up a blog article, so I just want to bring it over here. This is just in our blog, so if you go to our site, lifedesignanalysis.com, you will see a blog on there. If you're logged in, it'll be in the help section. There'll be a header for the blog, and this just really shows you how to make it on any different device. So we go through, I'm going to show you how to do this on an Apple device today, but we have Android as well, and how to make it a desktop app. If you wanted, I mentioned at the beginning, if you wanted to make it more, act more like a desktop application, even just in terms of thinking about it and going to it when you have a case. Or again, there's lots of ways you can do it. Even we have one for Mac. And do make sure to subscribe to the blog so you'll get notified when new blogs are out there. But as you can see, even on a Mac, you can make it part of your dock screen. And keep it in the dock so that when you want to launch LDA or when you have an insurance opportunity, you just simply double click like a regular application. So we do have this article that's going to kind of step by step what I'm going to show you today, and it's just in our blog. It's LDA insurance app on any device. So that's how to make an app on any device. If you want to, we'll go visit the blog and bookmark that one. So I'm going to transfer over to my phone here, and we're going to show you how you can make it an app live on your phone, and then I'm going to run one of those recipes to show you, even if you're out on the go and really needed to turn around a quick presentation for one of your clients with some options, you could do that from anywhere. Alright, so I've transferred over here to my phone, and you can see, operates just like a regular phone would. I can go to Netflix and watch movies. And the nice thing about apps is they're sort of dedicated, so they go directly to the application you're looking at using, rather than going to Google and then navigating to the site. So a lot of times shortcuts or apps are very good because they're sort of singularly focused, right? They take us right to that thing, like whether we want to go to Amazon and do some shopping, that sort of thing. Now, we specifically designed Life Design Analysis as a mobile responsive website so that it would work on all different devices. And this means any size of tablet, regardless of manufacturer as well. We didn't want to be tied to a particular app store. So if making an Apple app, but you're an Android user and then having to design two apps. So we've designed a mobile responsive website, and it's actually quite nice. I'll show you. So I'm going to launch up Safari here, and just like regular, I could search for so I can search for like Life Design Analysis here. So you can see it comes up as the top result. And again, you can see you're going to take us to our website. We can click on the one. We could even click right on the login. And just, as I scroll through here, you can see that the whole site has adjusted for mobile. So everything about it is a little bit smaller on mobile. The menu you can see is this little hamburger menu. But just like if we were on a desktop site, we could log in. And again, I'm just going to log in here to my account and sign in here. And all of the functions that you would operate on the desktop can be operated from your smartphone. So you'll notice immediately the dashboard itself is all customized to be fit to my phone. So if you remember our previous view, all of these icons were sort of laterally laid out over a wider screen. But anything like the account settings and things like that that you normally control your account, your organizations, all of that can still be controlled from web. So really, if you're out and about and you have your smartphone on you, you have all of that power of Life Design Analysis with you. Now, the first thing that I wanted to show you was essentially how you could make an app so that instead of going to Safari and navigating there, you can get right to it from the home screen. So the process is actually quite easy, and it's a little different on each different device. But as I said, for your different devices, check out the blog on lifedesignanalysis.com. On an Apple iPhone, which is what I'm on, you'll see there's a little square button at the bottom. Now, when you tap that, you get lots of different options, whether you want to share it with someone, messaging, email it, Dropbox. If you see along the bottom, I'm scrolling along until I see this plus add to home screen button. and you can see it brings it up there. It's got, you know, sort of the web where it's actually going there. You don't necessarily have to call it our big long name like dashboard. You could call it something like LDA. And again, I always do it where I'm logged in on the dashboard. You may even want to do it to manage cases, and it'll bring you right to that URL. But I'm just going to have it as our basic home screen, and I'm going to click Add. Now you can see it grabbed a little image, and it's down here. I'm actually just going to move it off to the side here, and I'm going to put it over here and say Done. Now I'll just give an example. I'll come up here. I'm actually just going to close this window out altogether. And I'll just show you what happens. So, you know, I could be in, you know, maybe I'm in Netflix in between meetings or something like that, and I get an email that I've got a prospect who's looking for, you know, maybe some options they want to turn around. I simply click the app. It takes us right here. I can say I want to add a new case. I'm just going to type in here, I'm going to use my Phil Mickelson client. So again, choose my client, hit continue. That brings me to the design case page. Same sort of thing. I'm just going to put in my $1 million insurance benefit. Okay, and then I'm going to run a recipe here. So I'm just going to select the recipe of choice, and I'm just going to do maybe a T10 2030 just to illustrate this. This is great for maybe someone's looking for protection on their mortgage. They really quickly, they want some options. We pull up a quick case, say add recipe, and you know, again, within a matter of seconds, we turn around some options for the client that we can present, and it looks like we've spent a lot of time on it. So you can see when I generate this report here, you know, I'm going to have all of that functionality. Now, it may not be the best device to present on your mobile. You can see it all has adjusted, even things like the needs analysis adjust. And again, you'll see if as you tilt, you know, your phone, that's going to adjust the charts and things like that. So they're not bad if you're showing someone on the golf course or something like that. They look quite good on a tablet. One thing that you can do that I find works really well on mobile is to go in and share the case. So if you wanted to send this to a client, you could share the case, or you could generate a PDF from there. So I'll just click Generate PDF as an example here for a moment. And I've got my full report. And even from here, again, I could just simply say I want to email this report, and I've got my Phil Mickelson report, and that's how to do a PDF. Of course, I could also do a shared link as well. So I'm just going to say send it to myself. I can say, here's that report we talked about, and I could send it off to the client. So again, even if you're out and about, I mean, you could do that waiting on a tee, playing golf, between, you know, waiting for someone to clear the green or something like that. You could probably use a recipe from anywhere, you know, but lots of different applications. If you're waiting in a Tim Hortons for a client, don't let that stop you from working. You know, hopefully it's June, you're out on the dock, something comes in, you still want to be able to keep up to date with business, but you don't want to take forever. And that's where recipes and some of the time savings that we really stress at Life Design Analysis come in. All right, so let's just pop back here, and you know, that's a great way to be on the go, you know, accessing the different functions of Life Design Analysis, sharing cases. Remember, you can also pull up your contacts from the Manage Client area. When you click on things like the phone number, again, makes it really easy to call your client. So definitely make that as an app. As I said, if you wanted to see that a little bit slower or in a step-by-step, again, we've got it broken out instructions. It's just on our blog at lifedesignanalysis.com. Now, let's actually jump back to that case. So again, if I go into my Manage Cases here back on the desktop application, I'm going to see that case that was just created on my mobile here. So again, I'm just going to reset these filters here because I'm sorting by different dates and things like that. And I'm just going to go by date itself. So I'm going to go case date, and I'm going to sort descending. Now, many of you may not know all of these top areas here on all our reports. You can see you can click on them to sort high to low, like sorting by insurance benefit or case date or things like that. So again, I can sort, you can see the arrow going up for ascending or descending case date, things like that. So again, I'll go by descending date here. And again, you can see my Phil Mickelson case that I created. Now, again, I'll pull it up here and I'll talk about maybe just a different way we could share this different report with our client. So we may have created this on mobile. Think about, again, if you're working with an admin staff too, they can collaborate with you on these sort of reports. So something they may design remotely can be accessed by you within seconds, right? So I created this case on my mobile, but now I'm accessing it on my desktop, and that's kind of the benefit of having a cloud-based software. Now, one of the other ways that productivity can work for you is in sharing these cases remotely. And as I talked about before, we're going to talk about a shared link, but there are a number of ways to present life design analysis. And thinking about the summer months, if we are out of the office more, we want to work more remotely, there are certainly ways we can use life design analysis to do that. So, from the phone, I had actually generated a PDF and shared it with my client remotely, even creating the case on a mobile device. But there are other ways to share. So again, PDF is great, but it doesn't have some of the interactive features. So one of the things you might think about doing is actually sharing that case using an interactive link here. So if you have the Premier package, you'll see at the very top of the account there is a share. You can always unshare that. So if you wanted to remove the link or expire it, you could. Simply click unshare and the case is no longer available. You can also request information before your visitor actually gets to the case. So if you're worried about them maybe redistributing the link to somebody else, you can require first and last name, and you're going to get a log of anyone who tries to go log into the case itself. You can also, as I said, set expiration dates. So you may share it with them, but it's a proposal and you don't want it lasting in their hands forever. Again, you can always set that expiration date to a future time. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can share it. So one really simple way is just by copying the URL. Same sort of thing. I could, email this to a client, put it in a little bit of a message and say, here's the report that that we were, looking at together. So lots of great ways you can do that. One of the other ways might be like something like a LinkedIn message. So for instance, if I'm maybe prospecting or working off social media, I could incorporate this into a LinkedIn message where again, maybe I want to send something to John. So again, I can just say, start typing a name, pick him out, say, John, here is that case we were working on. And I can send him that link there. So again, lots of different ways you can share the link. Now when John gets the link, he clicks on it, and that takes him to this copy of the case for Phil Mickelson. Another way you could do that is, think about if you're text messaging it. So I could send it over text message to a client. But there are so many different ways to present. Now, one of the neat things is you'll see when I go to the link, so as John is the link here, working remotely and sharing this with our client, John can go through and actually select the option that they're interested in buying. So you'll notice when I kind of designed this report for Phil and shared it, there was a apply today button option here. So if you didn't want it in there, you would click disable. This is one of the new functionalities that we've incorporated into LDA. So when you do share out these digital cases with your clients, you could have created this from the cottage, shared it out over a message on LinkedIn, or copied it in an email. When your client receives it, they get a digital version of the case, so they get to see what you see in terms of these kind of mobile callouts and interactive charts. So again, let them know they can adjust these and play with them. But one of the neatest things is that when they do see an option that perhaps they're interested in buying, they can use our Apply Today button. So when they click it, any of the options within this product, they can select if I want that term 30, and they can indicate to you start application with one click. Now when they do this, this sends a notification to your account that they're interested in purchasing, what product they're interested in purchasing, but it helps connect you to your customers in a digital way. And again, this is so important when working remotely. We may not be able to sit there with our clients, but we can put together a very visually communicative option here for them. And again, especially important when you are working remotely in the design of these cases to add things like report notes. so that help guide the client through the report itself. We find concept notes like Insurance 101, like types of insurance. So again, remember, you can customize these report notes. You might make an individual note for the scenario if you're not there. Sometimes if we're not there in person, we might want to give a little bit more guiding steps to how a client would go through the report, or sort of what they're looking at. For the most part, we find when people actually look at the reports, it's quite obvious. A picture says 1,000 words. If we're looking at cost, we don't want to be the higher cost. We want the lowest cost for our time frame. This gives them a great idea to get there quickly. They can see the different options in terms of price points and how that the premium summary changes over time. Again, if you're sharing this out there and not there to explain what IRR is, you may want to kind of remove some of these pages. Or again, if you're designing this case yourself, you might want to just click on the data point and add like a report note to that explains why this is an important feature. So again, remember your audience when you are sharing these cases remotely, and add additional detail to the products that you're doing. Even things like, again, we were calling this RBC Term 10, Term 20, Term 30. A lot of times, we use jargon, and we find that it's easier if we simplify it. So, one could be, short term. I could save that. One could be medium term, and one could be long term. So again, even getting outside of product names and things like that, certainly can help when we're talking or when we're sharing a report digitally. Now, remember, even if you do a shared case and share it out and generate your report digitally via a link, you can always call your client and actually go through it with them. One of the neat things you'll see from the client side is that your phone number will actually be incorporated into the report, and same with if they want to email you. And again, that's all found within your account settings. So whatever you've set up your your account to have in terms of your phone number, your email, your website, all of that is going to be linked when the client goes into the report here. So if they click on your website, that's going to draw from those account settings, and that's where they're going to be directed. Same thing with your phone number. So if you ever need to update that, you always can. Same thing with a comment. If they comment on the report, again, back in your design case here, when you see it, you're going to see any kind of comments here. So if I indicated I wanted to buy a certain product, that's going to be left in the comments. Any kind of revision history is going to be made. You can see I shared that over LinkedIn with John. He went in and said he wanted to buy a particular product. So great way to use that. Of course, as always, we want to notify you when those things happen. We're going to track all of sort of the kind of the events. You can see we shared the case. It was on it for John was on it for a couple minutes. Immediately got it, and this is the product they have expressed to purchase there. So you can see you're going to get notified of those intent to buy. As always, with all your filters, if you want to focus in on those, you can. Even things like those term exchange or term conversion opportunities, you can see just a specific opportunity by filtering out these. We did cover this on another webinar, but things like mass updating. So if you wanted to delete all your notifications or mark them as read, you certainly can. Any that are left unread, you're going to get that daily account reminder. So if you're getting that email every morning saying you have unread opportunities, it just means you haven't looked at these notifications in your system. If you don't want to get that every day, you can either mark them as read, or again, within that account settings, you can change things in the system tab like your notifications. So do you want to receive that daily? If you're kind of swiping it daily and going, I go into the system daily, and I'm checking those notifications, maybe you don't need them as frequently, but I do like them in there because if people are marking things as sold or saying they want to purchase them, you really want to follow up and get on top of that. Though shared links are great. As I said, add additional context if you're doing it totally remote. There are other ways to present remotely, though. So again, thinking about time management, we're out of the office a little bit more. Maybe we're working remotely at the cottage. Consider our other blog on 7 ways to present insurance solutions. We go through all the different ways that you can present. So one, again, is a tablet. This is, great for those road warriors. Perhaps you're out there, you're meeting with clients, in Tim Hortons and things like that. Again, go from stacks of paper, which are really messy, hard to understand, to your tablet. And that is a great way to work remotely, where you don't necessarily have to be in the office with your full computer setup, but you can design cases or review the cases that have been created for you. Again, printed PDF, boardroom, those are more when you're back in the office. A shared case, we sort of went over making a link to it. Screen share is another great option. So, the shared link is great and kind of lets them absorb it on their own time. But as I said, don't hesitate to schedule a screen share with them. So we use GoToWebinar or GoToMeeting. A lot of great programs out there. A lot of people use Zoom. There's some free ones. GoToMeeting is free. Uber Conference we've used in the past and is free and quite good. But remember, you can load up the case that you want to share with that client, set up some time, like a calendar event, share it out with them. When they join, just like we're doing over the screen, we can run through the report, we can talk about what we're seeing, we can modify different products, and we can even think about like having an e-app. So if we wanted to apply right on the spot, we could do that. And again, social media, even if you're away, you can still promote different strategies and things like that using your shared case. So we definitely made a video on some of that social selling aspect, but do check out the blog for all of the different ways to share reports from LDA, but specifically focusing on being out of the office and working smarter, not harder. Remember, some of these are a great option. Don't necessarily drive across Toronto traffic when the Raptors parade is going on. Share a shared link and talk it over with your client on the phone and save yourself hours. So, some of the things we're all really a fan of here at Life Design Analysis. One of the benefits there is that, we also get that notification for, that the client has looked at it. That's also that compliance asset too, because we know, only you had that link to the case. We shared the case, you clicked it, you looked at it at this specific time. We know how long you looked at it. All of those great benefits that really benefit compliance. So really that brings us to the end of the webinar in terms of topics. There are a number of updates and sort of new things that you'll see in the system. Organizations is new. You'll start to notice certain MGAs were rolling out that automation from the carrier level. But if you're running an AGA, again, remember you can buy multiple licenses and have that visibility of all your subscriptions. We can control those sort of permissions for you. One other thing you'll see that was asked for quite a bit was mass actions. So if we wanted to select all our cases, or let's just say we created 4 Phil Mickelson scenarios. Really good idea to, I think, keep all of your suitability analysis, but let's just say, for instance, we wanted to get rid of a couple different cases at the same time. Again, we could select different cases and then we could delete them. So mass actions was something that we wanted. Again, with our regular delete process, we try and make it hard because we don't want you to accidentally delete, but I can delete certain cases if I want to go through and maybe cull a few extra ones or something that I wasn't going to use. Same sort of thing. We applied that same mass action logic to your clients as well. You probably noticed it when I was filtering in my clients that you could go into manage clients and maybe this particular client I want to delete because when I imported them I had some funky characters. I could again delete selected clients. So sometimes we'll find we create doubles by accident. Instead of merging them, maybe you just want to delete selected ones, you could go through and delete a lot faster. So mass actions are really good. The other thing that I think is really neat too, especially if you're at that sort of AGA or if you work with a business partner and you wanted to use our shared cases, so a lot of times in collaboration, especially with advisors who work in multiple offices, you might want to share your whole block of business. So for example, I have all of these clients in there. Let's say I want to work them with another advisor who has LDA or with my admin staff who has an admin account. I can select everything and I can share those clients with a group. So I could select any of my groups that I've created and that way all of my clients would be shared with this group. But as I say, you could also select individual clients too. So it should make it a little bit easier to share the right kind of clients with the right groups. Sometimes people have different advisor codes and want to farm out the block of business. That would be possible through kind of that groups model that we have available in Life Design Analysis. As usual, if you want help with any of these concepts or you're interested in learning about more, visit our website, lifedesignanalysis.com, reach out to us on live chat, give us a call, or send us an email. I want to thank everyone so much for participating in the webinar. We'll be back next month. Usually we do them the last Thursday of every month to give us some time to prepare the topics. But I really appreciate your time today and look forward to the next one. Thanks so much.